can screen record it, I guess. All right. Well, let's just start then.
Exactly.
I don't know. So maybe so we're talking to Natalie. How are you?
I'm very good.
And you're from the Local Artisan Guide. So
Yes.
can you tell me a bit about it?
Yes. The Local Artisan got started about 4 years ago. I work in product development. So a lot of that is going around looking for, pieces that really inspire me or designers. I worked for past Kate Spade. I worked for J. Crew. And I mostly concentrate on handbags, footwear, and accessories. And the fun part about that is that I go to all these different neighborhoods, or even travel London, Berlin, and just shop around. And
Oh, wow.
doing that is great because you find these little shops and brands that you never heard of, and you get really incredible, unique products that. Um, and then as a product developer for a bigger brand, they'll take aspects of it and hopefully not copy it, and just go, okay, we're gonna put this, to our store. And from that, I grew to really love just traveling around, find neighborhoods that have, just amazing small brands. I realized that I wasn't the only person. There's people like me who like to go to more boutique hotels and little.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to find sometimes, right?
Yes, exactly. You really have to walk around, and or
Yeah.
you have to rely on local knowledge too.
Yeah, you have to. I would always like ask at the hotel, ask people who know people who live somewhere. It's kind
Right.
of, whole research typically.
Yes, like what's your favorite, say you're going to Berlin, and your friend lives there, what's your favorite place to shop? Where's your favorite place to eat? What are your favorite art?
Yeah.
And that brings you straight to, and you get to avoid a lot of the tourists, and areas that, instead of like being directed to Times Square or Broadway, you're directed more Soho or Williamsburg, or Brooklyn Heights,
Yeah.
or each
Normally,
side.
yeah, I guess otherwise you would just stay in Midtown, not even consider Brooklyn or anything.
Exactly. Or you would think like, oh, it seems like, I'm gonna have to do a lot of travel or a lot of self-discovery on myself. But what I love doing so I started having a guide where I was accumulating information, and so walking through a neighborhood and going in, like, oh, what is it you sell, and what's your story. That's what eventually that's what I love, because everybody had a million sometimes people were in corporate, they weren't fulfilled, and they had a passion that they were, and maybe that was making belts, or
Yeah.
being a jeweler, and then some people, it was always their passion and talent, or they traveled and came upon a different skill set that they learned from traveling, and
Yeah.
made a brand out of it. And so I just felt stories were so much more interesting, and so much hard work, and hard work, passion, and I just wanted that to be rewarded. And for people like me who were into that, it is very niche, but people like me to find it, to easily find it. So I've been working for the last few years to develop an app where you just filter. You go, okay, I'm in London, I'm in Mayfair.
Wow, you've been all over the place, right?
Yes. So I have a lot in New York, London, and Paris, and then places like Miami and Los Angeles that I'm concentrating to.
Yeah,
After
yeah.
COVID, it's
Yeah,
been
it must have changed a lot since we had the quarantine.
exactly. I've had to completely like redo my whole business plan, because before that I was focused on a lot of brick and mortar stores that I was coming upon, and even though
Yeah.
so many designers, and
Yeah.
brands worked online, or they sold wholesale other. So now it's kind of flipped, where now I'm working on brands that are really concentrating on their site, and either brick and mortar or pop-up shop like their second,
Yeah, there are some stores that are still open, but I guess the majority of us is focusing on online and virtual shows and
yes.
and very little brick and mortar anymore. So yeah, I can see how you have to change your whole business plan in a way, at least temporarily.
Yes, temporarily. But it's good because it makes you think of, I have to do something that will survive another COVID, you know, another thing. And so at first it was daunting because it's a lot of updating, and you know, there was a lot of business closed because I had this whole big database. But now I'm like, okay, this is good because this makes me include everybody, you know.
And I guess you would even be way more needed once things open again, because everything has changed. You would not know beforehand who's still open, who's not, and
that
now I would think that also there are going to be far more pop-up shops as
yeah,
opposed to permanent shops, so it will be even harder to find things.
I know even larger brands are telling me that they're like, we're probably gonna do maybe, you know, 2 or 3 pop-up shops, you know, throughout the year, and then just concentrate on because you know rents are still ridiculously expensive, you know, and
Yeah.
so instead of just concentrating on all the work, you know, that goes into having a store full time, just you know, and there's all these really great companies now that concentrate on doing pop-up, and they'll do everything for you A to Z, you know. So they're like, okay, I'm going to concentrate on my brand, online presence, and do my pop-up, but you know.
Yeah, I was hoping to do that too, but now it's even pop-up I find a bit hard, so yeah.
Yeah, I was just in Pittsburgh a few days ago, and it was the first time I'd been there, and it was actually really sad because as soon as I got off the Bedford stuff, I saw the stores were all boarded up, you know, and they're still boarded up. So I was walking up, and I found some really great stores that were open, but they were telling me, oh, you know, on the weekdays they barely have any traffic, more on the weekend, and so I said, hey, you know, this is my job now to make sure, you know, people know about you.
Yeah, even though Williamsburg is still one of the more lively neighborhoods still, it was never really, but yeah, there are definitely a lot of places that are closed, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. So it was, you know, before COVID, you know, it was driving, and so hopefully it gets back after vaccine. You know, there's a semblance of that same energy, you know, that people love to go and see.
Yeah.
So my question for you then is, you know, what I love is I love to always know the backstory of how somebody came to become an artist, you know, and it's always an interesting story. So that's
Yeah, isn't it often that people changed careers? At least that's what I hear in New York a lot. Yeah, so I'm a jeweler and also make fine art. And I started out as studied physiology. So initially, when I came in New York, I was actually working in cardiopulmonary rehab.
no,
So
it,
yeah, so I was an exercise physiologist working with patients with pulmonary disease and heart disease, kind of physical therapy work. And I did love it. I was nice, but it was a bit limited in what you can, if you would want to change a little bit, like maybe add nutrition.
mhm.
In the medical world, for kind of good reasons, it's very regulated that every time you try to you change your profession a bit, you have to go to school back for 4 years to get another degree. And I was considering it, but I was also, you know, very interested in arts, and I always loved making things. So I decided just to do a little bit of crafts on the side and just as a hobby and enjoy myself that way and challenge myself and learn new things. And then also in that area where I was working on 38th Street between 5th and 6th, so kind of the garment district, they
Yes.
had all these bead stores with beautiful gemstones. So it was kind of like every lunch break I would buy amethyst and turquoise and make things of it at home. And that's kind of how it all started.
You were in the right place.
Yeah, no, exactly. And yeah, there's so many creative people here as well. So yeah, to my surprise, I was actually able to sell it in little boutiques and on little markets and things. And then at some point, I tried a trade show, and then I was able to sell it like to 20 stores, and it was, yeah, actually to my surprise, I was making money from it kind of right away, which I didn't expect or ever thought was possible. So yeah, so I
That's
then
that's usually not the case for people who start.
no, I didn't get a loan or I didn't get an investor. It wasn't like a pre-planned business thing. So for quite a few years, I kept on doing part-time physical therapy kind of work, personal training kind of, and then also making jewelry, selling jewelry. But then when I got I had a chain of department stores in Japan and also some bigger accounts, and then I decided, okay, I have to do one thing right and make sure that that's done right. So I focused on that and kind of stopped doing physical therapy. So yeah, now it's been already for years that I just make jewelry and also started make some fine art. And yeah, since I started this business, the world has changed so many times. So I had to reinvent myself a few times. Because when I kind of started my business was 2003. So at first, wholesale and selling to boutiques was an important thing, and you had to be in the better stores
Right.
and department stores. And when the focus shifted to online selling, then hey
What
Megan.
when you feel like if it's shift to that? So here.
Yeah, so then I had to reinvent it, focus more also on direct sales. So then I changed to selling more in person, which was also actually kind of nice that I was able to go a little bit higher end. So initially I made more brass and silver jewelry, and then when I started selling directly at Grand Central, I also sold more gold and silver. So yeah, this was
Was that scary when you decided to just go, okay, I'm gonna completely leave, design, and I'm gonna become an artisan now? Okay, so
yeah, I had this idea. Oh, I can always go back to physical therapy, which in theory is possible, but I think that actually everything in New York is very competitive. So I don't think you can do any career a bit halfway. I mean, maybe if you're very established already, then you can just do a little bit of everything, and but. No, it was kind of scary. You never know how much, what the next job is or what. But I just made sure that I would always I wouldn't like borrow money and then see what happens. So I would always make sure that I have enough money to continue. And I think actually at one point I had to go back to physical therapy for a few months. Because I felt it was too insecure, but that's now I think already more than 10 years ago.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been already quite a long time like this, and I think what is great is like people like you who kind of create a community where. So I feel like in New York we have a lot of people that we discuss things with. So how we what are the best shows to do, and how to approach the business, and that way it looks maybe more scary than it is, I find.
And that's actually really nice because people think sometimes like New York, oh, everyone's so competitive here, but there's actually a community to help each other.
Yeah, no, I agree. I felt like when I started, everybody kind of responded with, "Oh, let me think who I know who can help you, and what I can do with it." That's so. I don't feel that it's very competitive.
That's what I love about New York. I feel like if you have real talent, people are there to try to help you get.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's also everybody knows that you kind of have to kind of help each other find things and get around, and we often do shows together, like our mutual friends Claudia from Dairy Design. I did many shows together with her when we didn't have a store anymore, and that way you exchange ideas and connect that way.
I know, and I love it because the two of you have such a different vision, but still fits together very well. showing.
I think that's actually the best way. If you have exactly the same kind of jewelry, then maybe it doesn't feel so good to work
Yeah,
together,
exactly.
because then you're so much each other's direct
Yeah.
competition. But yeah, I don't think we would have the exact same clients.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has their own clientele.
And I always love your jewelry. I really feel you have a very unique vision. You know, sometimes I feel like when you don't come so trained, you know, and you come from another field, you have a more out of the box, you know, and vision. So I sometimes think that's what makes, you know, somebody's brand or, you know, or their work more creative, more.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think necessarily that my work is very Dutch. I'm from the Netherlands, but yeah, I do think, of course, if you've been exposed to different things, you come to different, yeah, things, ways of making things, and I think I've always tried to experiment very much in techniques, and when I learn a new technique, then I would have a whole new line. So that's actually how I've been always working, to make it always a bit different. So yeah, I use different textures and things. Initially, I started with making things in bronze and brass,
Mm-hmm.
and then now I use mostly silver and gold, and then I fuse it with fine gold. So, for example, this one
Yeah.
is fine silver that I fuse with 24 karat gold, and it's a technique called kumbu. So when I learned that technique, then all of a sudden there was a whole
Mm-hmm.
world of possibilities of what I could do with it. Yeah.
Where do you find the technicality? So,
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
where do you like find your where you know where the inspiration? At?
Yeah, the inspiration in the jewelry is a bit from modern art, various things, and architecture, and a bit also botanical. And then I also have a direction where I oxidize different copper alloys. Like, for example, these pieces, I don't know if you can see them. It's
Yes.
copper that I oxidize and then hand engrave into. For example, also this bracelet.
Yeah.
So I kind of experiment with the material, see what comes out of it, and then it's a process. And then the patterns can be from art or from more botanical inspiration. And
That also seems to be part of your design too. Is that you know you have you know
yeah,
you're not afraid of experimenting and you understand about elements and
yeah, I think it's fun, the experimental part. So I don't always plan everything ahead of time how it will look, and yeah, I love that you then have infinite possibilities of what to do with it. Yeah, and then yeah, I started at some point also making fine art. So for example, this one, now you can see it.
yes, I can see very beautiful.
So that's copper with oxidized, and when copper is being exposed to the elements, it comes out. Different colors come out, like green and also turquoise. And then this one I also have painted on the material. And the copper you can see again because it's engraved into the patina. So that way, create different patterns. And
What is
then
what inspired you to go from like the jewelry to a canvas?
I think I was just making those for fun, but now it actually works that way that once I've made fine art, then that inspires me to create a whole line of it. So I make matching earrings, for example, these ones. It's not that I think my earring should match my art, but it inspires that
Yeah,
way.
exactly. I love that.
And that's why I also like making bracelets most of everything, because you have the most place to actually put a pattern or make
Small,
a piece of art.
right, a small canvas wrist. So
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
yeah.
Um,
So I can show you some more
yeah.
bracelets as well. So these ones again are the silver and gold ones,
Mhm.
and they're very easily adjustable. And then the black you see is oxidized silver. So it's still silver, but it oxidizes more. And I use mostly fine silver, so it doesn't. You don't need to clean it much. It's just 99% silver as opposed to sterling silver, which is 92.5% silver.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Anything else you want to see?
Let's see. A question I have is like, how many collections do you come out with here?
I think it's like 2-3 a year. It's not. I'm not so planned as maybe somebody who really does wholesale full time. But when I used to do wholesale, there was like twice a year. Then I would do the wholesale shows in Paris and also here in New York, and I have a whole new line. And now it's more gradually. It doesn't have to be completely changed every season. There's not that pressure as much. I try to also make things that are a bit timeless, that they can last, and yeah.
So it's organic now.
Yeah, exactly.
Going by.
But I'm definitely looking forward after this holiday season to just kind of experiment again and think of some new things and make a new line, basically.
And what are your price points? So.
Oh yeah, it starts about $50 to, I don't know. I have also some bigger art pieces. Like I don't know if you can see.
Yes.
This one, that one is more, like 1,500, I believe. So and the bracelets, they range from 50 to 600 or so.
Those are really great price points for being so,
Yeah.
and really metal.
Yeah, there's a lot of work into it. They're each individually made. So the only thing that basically has been consistent in my work is that I've had this workspace in Williamsburg where I make everything that I've had from the beginning, and that I work with metal, but everything else has constantly changed.
So it's going like a artisan studio to a real art studio.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You get a bigger space now. Like if do you see like if you see yourself doing more and more fine, then sometimes that means you need a little of a bigger space, or.
Yeah, well, I love sometimes to go out of the city and then work from another place. Like sometimes I go back to the Netherlands, where my family is, and then I work there. And to have a garden, I kind of miss in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of nice. But we also have a bit of an outdoor space in my studio. So when it's good weather, I work there as well.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So how often here do you spend like traveling or being outside of New
Well, things have changed a bit
York?
since we quarantined since the pandemic. But before, that's I guess also the advantage of having your own company. I could spend probably more than most people in the US out abroad. I think mostly I would go at least for a month, if not longer, in the summer, and then also for a month in the winter back home or to Guatemala. I've been going there, all kinds of places. Once I worked out of Guatemala, which was great.
Nice.
To do that again, but right now it's probably not a good idea.
We're stuck here. So.
Yeah. I guess maybe that's part of the reason why I love having my own companies.
Yeah.
You can be your own boss and decide what to do.
And tell me one thing you learned like this year through COVID about your business, your work, and.
Yeah, I miss definitely seeing people in person, and I felt like I've always should be doing online, but I've not done it so much. So in a way, I learned during COVID that I really should do that, and I do also enjoy having a good website and
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, business-wise, it has changed a lot, basically.
Right. And now we're having to do more interviews, like, which I find lovely, you know. It's so great to talk to somebody without a mask. Okay, so.
Yeah, that's great. And also there's a wider audience this way, because
Yeah.
first I was just in New York and focusing on that, but now I get orders from all over the country, a little bit Holland, but of course shipping is not always that easy.
Right.
But I do also these Zoom parties, Art Party Central, so I
Yes.
have one again, and there we combine our email list, so it's also kind of a nice collaboration between the different artists, and that way uh, I get orders from Minnesota, California, all kinds of places.
Right. Great. People didn't
Yeah.
know before. I do feel collaboration is key.
Yeah, exactly.
I was told that before COVID even, and now it's really, like, hitting me. So, you
Yeah. So how are you gonna change your guides? Is it gonna be more focused on websites or?
right. It is going to be more focused on websites. So there'll still be the filter that, you know, I want XYZ. It'll focus it down, and there'll still be, you know, a part about it. So when traveling again, you know, and go, okay, you know, I'm in Holland now, you know, I'm in Amsterdam, you know, this neighborhood I want to, you know, I'll still have that so that you could walk around, still find, you know, a brand, you know, and there's also these amazing heritage brands too that have been around for so long, and you know, that's something that I love, you know, finding. So there'll still be that part, but what I've learned is that it's you know, and it's great because I thought, okay, I have some friends that are, you know, I love their town. Once I finish this, I'm going to concentrate on, you know, their websites, and now I'm like, okay, straight to you guys.
Yeah. It might also be interested to interview people while doing their work, like in their
Yeah,
studios. Yeah, I thought of that often, and then always think, well, right now I can't do it because my studio is a mess. So this is actually my home where I have this setup, which is more like a showroom.
mm-hmm.
And in my studio, yeah, it's maybe in a way more interesting, but also a little bit more tricky to get it to look good.
I
And
know. I've met some people that, oh, now I have channels. So like you said, now I'm showing people, you know, like along the way of how I do my work, and you know, story about it, which is always really interesting
yeah,
to just know, you know, your craft, and to know also that it's, you know, locally produced, you know, for shop local, made in New York, made in Brooklyn. I think people are really wanting to support that now, and you know, to show that you're not in some company, because many of the companies I worked for before, you know, I have to go to China for like do a 3-week trip there, see everything made. It wasn't that interesting, you know, actually. And I was stuck in
yeah,
in a factory that was inspiring, and you know, to be in
yeah.
artisan studio, you know, artisan studio is way more interesting.
Yeah, and that also has changed also even a bit more during COVID, because in a way it's now easier to do custom made pieces, which of course a big brand like that could have never done.
Yes.
And for me it was also a little bit hard before COVID, because then I was so busy with mostly with the Grand Central Holiday Fair that I didn't have time for that, you know.
Right.
But now I love it. I made somebody some custom made earrings that she wanted 2 stones per earring, and made a pin. And yeah, I love that. How it's changed in a way, smaller and smaller in a way.
But and more creative. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's more creative that way. Yeah. So
oh,
hopefully at some point we can do both, be in person and also sell online and do maybe
yeah.
virtual shows. Keep on doing virtual shows.
Yes, I know one thing that one part of my business plan was it was kind of it was called the Local Artisan Guild. So it would have been like little shops or little markets, you know, where it was very artisanal. And so hopefully, you know, sometime next year, we'll after the vaccine, we'll all feel comfortable in the shop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I hope so very much. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure for having me. This was fun, and I look forward. We have many people we know in common. Looking forward
Yeah,
to also, jumping onto also. Thank you for your studio, and I hope to see you soon.
Hope to see you soon.
Wait a
Bye
minute.
bye.
Bye.
Hi there.